Prisoners is the new film from director Denis Villeneuve, and it's a film that kind of randomly landed on my radar not too long ago. And thank goodness for that, because for most of the year it has been a sort of two-horse race between Stoker and Trance for my favourite film of the year. Well, move over, boys, because there's a new horse that's straddled up for that position. The film centres around the disappearance of two children from two separate families who are very close, the parents of which are Hugh Jackman's character Keller Dover and his wife, played by Maria Bello, Grace. And one of their children goes missing, and the other child is the child of Terrence Howard's characters Franklin Birch and his wife Nancy, played by Viola Davis. So the story starts around the fact that these two girls have gone missing the last time that they were seen, and the only lead that anybody has in the case of finding them is that they were seen earlier in the day playing around a parked stationary RV that was just sat there essentially watching the girls. They track down the RV to Paul Dano's character, who is brought in for questioning, but ultimately there is no real evidence tying him to the disappearance of the girls. There's no forensic evidence. There's basically nothing to suggest that he has actually kidnapped the children. However, Hugh Jackman's character Keller gets it in his mind and becomes obsessed with the fact that he knows that Paul Dano's character has something to do with the disappearance of the girls, at least, and therefore takes him, as the title suggests, a prisoner. He then begins to interrogate and torture and do his utmost worst to find out what he can from Paul Dano's character about the disappearance of the children. And whilst this is going on, you have Detective Loki, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who is a real kind of sort of left field, off-kilter police detective who is trying his utmost to find the missing girls. And that's essentially the core of the film's plot and narrative. That's basically the meat of what's going on. It does continue to grow and it does continue to evolve, and it's because of the atmosphere and the writing and the performances, which is why I'm putting this in serious consideration for my favourite film of the year. There is just so much to love about this film. One, the performances are fantastic across the board. Everybody gives a superb and strong performance, but in particular Jake Gyllenhaal and Hugh Jackman, the latter giving what I would describe as a career best performance. Easily one of the not just one of the best, easily the best performance I've seen from Hugh Jackman to date so far. Outside of the performances, the writing is really good. Sure, you could sit there with a checklist and tick a couple of things off, and if you really wanted to, you could poke holes at it, as you could do with many films, but I was totally gripped by the film's atmosphere and its presence, and a big part of that is because of the cinematography by the one and only Mr. Roger Deakins, who really brings this film to life in the most gloomy, horrible, almost tangible way. It's weird because you can almost feel the atmosphere of the film just washing over you in this really thick, hazy fog of sort of doom and gloom. On top of that, you just have a wiry, tangled sense of tension, which just mangles your nerves for so much of the film. And I know that doesn't sound ideal or fun to a lot of people, but if you want to be truly gripped and thrilled by a film, then the atmosphere of Prisoners will certainly do that for you. Although it's a very different beast, it kind of reminded me somewhat of David Fincher's Zodiac, slightly because of the kind of the tension that builds up, the sort of knuckle-gnawing, nerve-wrangling moments, just the horrible atmosphere that sort of lingers, and yet the really beautiful way in which the film is portrayed and put across through its aesthetics. It is a fantastic film, and it's one that I don't know if I'll watch again before the end of the year. I don't know if I'll watch again for a couple of years, because obviously once you know the truth of what's going on in the film, it might take the edge off a little bit like Trance did earlier, but nonetheless, the execution of this film and everything within it is just fantastic, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. I'm giving it a really strong 9 out of 10.